What are the most effective techniques you've used to minimize the mistakes?
Yeah, well, we made mistakes, we'll make more mistakes. We think not so much, we think in terms of not exposing ourselves to any mistakes that could really hurt our ability to play tomorrow. And so we are always thinking about, worst case situations. And there are, on the other hand, we have a natural instinct to do things big, both of us. So we have to think about whether we're doing anything really big that could have really terrible consequences. And I would say this, that I don't worry much about mistakes. I mean, the idea of learning from mistakes, the next mistake is something different. I mean, so I do not sit around and think about my mistakes and think about things I'm going to do differently in the future or anything of the sort. I would say that you may get some advantage. I think I've learned something over the years. I haven't learned more about a basic investment philosophy. I got that when I was 19, and I said, look, I think I've learned more about people over the years, and I'll make mistakes with people, and that's inevitable. But I think I'll make more good judgments about people. I'll recognize the extraordinary ones better than I would have 40 or 50 years ago. So I think that improves, but I don't think it improves by certainly any conscious sitting around and focusing on what mistake that I make with that person or this person. I just don't operate that way. Charlie?
Well, Warren, I would argue that what you've done and what I've done to a lesser extent is to learn a lot from other people's mistakes. That is really a much more pleasant way to learn hard lessons. And we have really worked at that over the years, partly because we find it so interesting, the great variety of human mistakes and their causes. And I think this constant study of other people's disasters and other people's errors has helped us enormously. Don't you, Warren?
Oh, yeah, well, that's true. In terms of reading of financial, I've always been absolutely absorbed with reading about disasters.
Yeah.
And there's no question. I mean, when you look at the folly of humans, I've focused on the folly in the financial area. There's all kinds of folly elsewhere. But just the financial area will give you plenty of material if you like to be a follower of folly. And I do think that understanding, and that's what gave us some advantage over these people that had IQs of 180, and could do things with math that we couldn't do. They really just didn't have an understanding of how human beings behaved and what happens. 2008 was a good example of that too. So we have been a student of other people's folly, and it served us well.